Good day, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues. Welcome to yet another presentation on English Second Language teaching. This presentation is aimed at preparing you for your exams of 2019. It's actually very important that you don't only rely on this presentation, but rather use it together with your study guide. A word of caution, do not wait until only when you are to study for the exams in order for you to acquaint yourself with the content of your study material. Take it before you even look at these at the presentation. Take it chunk by chunk. Look at each unit. Look at the key concepts there. Look at the learning outcomes. Look at the objectives, so that in the end you will be able to master the key concepts in your course. Otherwise, my experience is that students cannot even match. Students in most cases fail to match key concepts in questions with the answers. So they just read and try to give each anything that they know to any question that they come across. So it's very important that you devote more time to your studies. So this presentation will guide you on key issues in this course. Study together with your study guide. Also acquaint yourself with question verbs in your study guide. You can reach me at timchunga@yahoo.com. Contact me between 17:30 to 20 hours during the week. Please take note of key concepts in your course. The first area that we'll be looking at in this presentation is the levels of language learning. Levels, if we talk about levels, there are 5 levels of language learning. One is phonology. Phonology, we are talking about the study of the sound system of a language. Morphology, the study of the internal structure of words, how words are formed. Syntax, the principles and rules which teach us to put words together to form sentences. Semantics, study of how meaning is constructed. And pragmatics, how people use language within a context in real life situations. So we are talking about sound system, we are talking about word formation, we're talking about sentence construction, we're talking about meaning, and then meaning in context. So these are the areas that we need to focus on. Then we look at domains of childhood development. What are the domains of childhood development? We've got 4 of them. One is physical development domain. The second one is cognitive development domain. Cognitive has to do with the mind. Language. The child has to develop language as well. And they also have to develop socially. They should be able to interact, play, and work with others. Let's look at each one of them. Physical development domain. Here we are talking about the physical skills known as motor skills, body movement. Motor skills give children the ability to make purposeful movements and learn the physical characteristics of self and the environment. You can use your body to actually interact with your environment. It is through physical development domain that a child develops gross movements, fine controls, hand-to-eye coordination, balance, and kinesthetic sense. These are very, very important because this is where learning. This helps quite a lot with learning. For example, gross movements, you cannot go to school without being able to move your limbs and so on. Fine controls, grasping or holding a pencil and so on. You use your fingers, that's your smaller muscles. You should be able to have a hand-to-eye coordination in order for you to be able to write. You should be able to have balance. Motor development depends in part on a child's growth as assessed by weight, height, and body proportions along with physical health. So a child needs to be healthy. they need to have the a good proportion of their weight, height, and the width of the body. Poor nutrition and frequent illnesses can jeopardize the physical development of a child. So those children that are frequently ill and that are not well fed will actually not, excuse me. Sorry. So those children that are frequently ill and are not well fed will always have problems with their physical development. That in turn will affect their learning. Then cognitive development domain. This is the intellectual development of childhood. It includes the ability to process the thoughts and hold adequate attention. They should be able to think. They should be able to be attentive in class. They should be able to remember the events and understand the environment. They should be able to plan, predict, and regulate and evaluate any given task or situation experienced. So these are all important because these are faculties of the mind. Language development domain. Usually people think of language as an inherent capacity of a human child. A child is left alone, they will develop the language because a human being is supposed to develop a language, but that is not really the case. Language development and effective communication capabilities are highly dependent on other development domains. Communication capability includes a wide range of social behaviors and skills, and these social behavior and skills are acquired. Effective verbal ability is dependent on phonology, semantics, and pragmatics. Then we have social development domain. Social and emotional developmental domain deals with children's ability to understand the expressions of emotions, form attachments, play with others, and handle peer pressures. It should also give children the capacity to understand the feelings of others and control their own feelings. Social interaction demands that children are able to cooperate, follow directions, have moral reasoning, and demonstrate self-control. However, children's inherent temperament plays a major role in their ability to interact socially and handle emotional reactions. So their nature in terms of how temperamental they are. We always talk about people as being short-tempered and so on. So these are sometimes inherent. They are biologically inherited. Then language development. Language development in children can be influenced by the following factors. It can be influenced by social factors. It can be influenced by cognitive processes. It can be influenced by linguistic factors. It can be influenced by conceptual and perceptual factors. Let's see how these influence language development. Social factors. Here we are talking about a child's social environment. A child's language development depends on his or her social environment. Interaction with your pupil is crucial in developing social and language skills. The verbal environment influences language learning. Maintain conversation when your child is around. When the social environment of the home is centered on watching television, language and verbal expressions decrease. So nowadays TV has replaced us as childminders, but I think we need to go back to times where we chat to our children, converse with them, ask them questions about what they think about, a number of things, ask them about their experiences so that we help them develop the language. Cognitive processes. The way your child processes language cognitively affects the way her own language develops. Children who are exposed to an unusually high proportion of examples of a language form learn at a faster rate than those who are not. So basically it boils down again to exposure to language forms. Linguistic factors. Linguistic ability directly influences language development. In formulating own vocabulary, a child will associate a new word with a current object he does not have a label to associate with. It is also common that verb endings such as ing infer meaning to your toddler. Conceptual and perceptual. Language skills are related to word knowledge, and then the amount of words that a child knows can also help them or affect the way they learn language. A child's auditory perceptual skill at 6 to 12 months is a predictor of their vocabulary size and syntactic complexity at 23 months. Then we have the aims of language and communication skills for pre-primary learners in Namibia. The first aim is to develop personal, social, and emotional well-being, in particular by supporting the transition to and between settings, promoting an inclusive ethos, and providing opportunities for each child to become a valued member of the community so that a strong self-esteem is promoted. Develop social skills by providing opportunities that will enable children to learn how to share, cooperate, work in harmony with each other, and listen to each other. Develop attention skills on their own play activities and on tasks given to concentrate. Develop the children's language and communication skills with opportunities for all to talk and communicate in a widening range of situations, to listen carefully, to respond to others, and further to practice and extend the range of vocabulary use. Prepare children for reading and writing skills with opportunities for all to explore, enjoy, learn about science, words in a broad range of contexts, and to experience a rich variety of printed matter. Develop their understanding of numbers, measurements, patterns, shapes, and space by providing a broad range of contexts in which they can explore, enjoy, learn, and practice. Develop children's knowledge and understanding of the world with opportunities for all to solve problems, make decisions, experiment, predict, plan, explore, find out about the environment, people, and places that have significance in their lives. Develop and practice their fine and gross motor skills, and to increase their understanding of how their bodies work and what they need to do to be healthy and safe. Develop children's creativity with opportunities for all to explore and to share their thoughts, ideas, and feelings through a variety of imaginative art forms. Then we look at the task-based instruction. What do we mean by task-based instruction? This is an instruction where students participate in communicative tasks in English. Tasks are defined as activities that can stand alone as fundamental units and that require comprehending, producing, manipulating, interacting in authentic language, while attention is principally paid to meaning. Exposes English language learners to authentic language and challenges them to interact naturally in the language. Learners rapidly gain a true picture of the richness and complexity of the English language as employed for communication. Promotes the learning of real content, not just the dissection of language forms. It can be highly motivating to students of all ages and backgrounds. Then content-based instruction. This is where students practice all the language skills in a highly integrated and communicative fashion. While learning content such as science, mathematics, and social studies, valuable at all, it's also valuable at all levels of proficiency, but the nature of the content might differ by proficiency level. Here you are looking at language being learned through content, through themes, through learning, for example, geography. You can learn language. There are three general models of content-based language instructions. One is theme-based, second one is adjunct, and third one is sheltered. The theme-based model integrates the language skills into the study of a theme. The theme must be very interesting to students and must allow a wide variety of language skills to be practiced. In the adjunct model, language and content courses are taught separately but are carefully coordinated. In the sheltered model, the subject matter is taught in a simplified English tailored to students' English proficiency level. How to encourage intellectual development among pre-operational learners. What is it that we can do to encourage intellectual development among pre-operational learners? Read to your pupils and provide picture books with simple sentences. Engage your pupils in conversations and discussions on simple topics. Make time for drawing, painting, and scribbling. Allow for role play. For example, a child might decide to be a chef and starts cooking dishes with building blocks or plastic vegetables, placing them on plates and serving to you. Sing songs and rhymes with your child. Create games such as treasure hunt. All these will help them to grow intellectually. Dealing with learning difficulty. There are those learners that have difficulty of learning quickly and forgetting quickly. What do you do with those? You need to allow for constant revision of words and language that they learn. Use new structures you have taught regularly in lessons or in informal talks so they are familiar. Display the new words in the classroom for practice. There are those that need constant praise. You give them activities you know they can do. Let them know you are pleased with their efforts. Give them praise when they do something well and correct them gently if they make an error and encourage them to continue. Then we look at the behavioralist view of language development. What do we mean by behavioralist? By behavioralist, we believe that infants learn oral language from other human role models. The role models, of course, are the adults in their lives, the parents and the siblings. Other human role, through a process involving imitation, they imitate what they hear, and rewards, and then practice. What do we mean by rewards? Human role models in an infant's environment provide the stimuli and rewards. Stimuli is the model language, and then rewards are praises, whatever makes them feel good, makes the infants or the children feel good is a reward. When a child attempts an oral language or imitates the sounds or speech patterns, they are usually praised and given affection for their efforts. Thus, praise and affection becomes the rewards that they get. Then the nativist view of language development. Nativist perspective argues that humans are biologically programmed. There is nothing social about language, but it is innate. It's within us to gain knowledge. The main theorist associated with this perspective is Noun, Chomsky. Chomsky proposed that all humans have a language acquisition device that contains knowledge of grammatical rules common to all languages. So when we are born with this device that we can, just acquire language skills just like that because we have that device. It also allows children to understand the rules or whatever language they are listening to. Chomsky also developed the concepts transformational grammar, surface structure, and deep structure. Transformational grammar is grammar that transforms a sentence, so you can add aspects to a sentence, to expand it further. Surface structures are words that are actually written, and the deep structure is the underlying message that is carried by those words. There's a mix-up. Behaviorist still continues. There are criticisms to behavioralists. They believe that children learn language from human role models, and that they are, encouraged by rewards. There's criticism to that. One is that if rewards play such a vital component in language development, what about the parent who is inattentive or not present when the child attempts speech? There are those children that are not rewarded at all. Nobody even recognizes the fact that they have made, a speech pattern. So what about them? If that is part of language development, why doesn't it stop then? If a baby's language learning is motivated strictly by rewards, would the speech attempt stop merely for lack of rewards? Other cases against this theory include learning the use and meaning of abstract words, evidence of novel forms of language not modeled by others, and uniformity of language acquisition in humans. You would find that children from different, perspective, from different places will have similar, stages in learning a language. So if the rewards and so on played a role, there would be differences in terms of those that rewards them more would perhaps get more from the children. But now you'll find that there's uniformity, of children's language from different places. And also there are children that acquire certain, forms, language forms that, are not modeled by those that are around them. Then teaching language skills in an integrated way. That means when you teach language, you don't teach, there are 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. You don't teach each one of these in isolation. They are integrated in one lesson. How do we do that? We need to learn the structure of language and how to use them. When you teach a language, you rarely teach the skills or the grammar separately. Any language lesson is a lesson of mixed skills and should integrate the various language skills. This is the same in everyday life. When we use language in everyday life, we don't use one skill at once. The skills are integrated, and it happens without effort, without planning. When you are making a telephone call, for example, you speak to someone, you listen to what is being said, and you may even take notes of what is being said. In everyday situations, one may use a variety of skills at the same time. In a structured lesson, pupils listen to the teacher, then they speak as they repeat the sentences, then they read the sentences, and finally they write the sentences. So we need to integrate these skills in one lesson. Differences between learning English as a second language and learning a mother tongue. There are a number of aspects that we need to look at. There are 3 factors involved here. One is the age, the second one is the teacher, and the third one is the time frame. How long are you going to be learning the language? Generally, you learn a second language a lot later than you learn the first, and this can give you certain advantages. You already have experience as a language learner, and that you are cognitively more mature. You also have a meta-linguistic knowledge. This means, for example, that you know what a word is and what it means to make a noun plural. Finally, you have a greater knowledge of people and the world. This helps you to make good guesses at the meaning of the unfamiliar language you encounter. On the other hand, the fact that you are older may mean that you are more inhibited and less spontaneous in using the new language for fear of making mistakes and appearing silly. The most important teachers of your first language are, of course, your parents and immediate family. They generally have the boundless patience and enthusiasm with your efforts to learn the language, and by intuition offer just the right kind of input to promote optimal language learning. This modulated language input is called motherese, a feature of which is the fact that mistakes of fact are corrected, whereas mistakes of grammar generally are not. These all contrast strongly with the teaching that many learners of a second language receive in the language classroom. Phonetics, phonology. Again, phonetics is the production and perception of speech sounds as physical entities. This is in general. And phonology, sound patterns, sound system of a particular language, and of sounds as abstract entities. So here, it's phonology is a sound system of a particular language, and phonetics is just the production and perception of speech sounds as physical entities. Consonants and vowels. Consonant is a speech sound made by partially or completely blocking the flow of air through the mouth. Okay, then a vowel is a speech sound made by allowing breath to flow out of the mouth without closing any part of the mouth or throat. Whereas in consonant you block completely or partially, with vowels you allow a free flow out of the mouth. Tenses, I've given you, I'm not going to dwell on the tenses now. It's something that you really need to learn, but I've given you a link that you can go to in order for you to learn the tenses in terms of the rules, in terms of the usage, and in terms of the form. Affix are words that are, or letters that are added to words, either in front or before the word. Prefix is added or placed at the beginning of the word to adjust its meaning, and a suffix is placed at the end of the word to form a derivative, such as Asian, Phi, and okay. Frequently in suffix it converts the stem into another part of speech. Noun plurals, we look at the regular verbs, regular plurals, the one that takes s or es at the end. You've got examples: buses, dishes, couches, boxes, and buses. Then if the word ends in a consonant, all letters except R, A, E, or O plus Y, then change the Y to an I and add the letters ES. For example, baby, we convert Y into I and add ES. Then for all other non-irregular nouns, simply add an S. Then non-countable nouns. Non-count nouns, also called collective nouns, have no plural form. For example, hair, grass, or mud. Then we have other irregular plurals, the ones that ends in F or FE. We add VS, we change F or FE to VES. Wife, wives, half, halves. For nouns that end in O, you add either S or ES. For example, for zoo, you add zoos, S to make it zoos. Tomato, you add ES to make it tomatoes. For many words that end in US, change the US to I. Okay, for example, cactus, cacti, fungus, fungi, syllabus, syllabi. Words that change form. Certain words do not add a letter to the end, but instead change the word itself. These words simply need to be memorized. For example, you have words like men, that changes to men, and you have foot, that changes to feet, goose to geese. Importance of the chalkboard in a classroom. A chalkboard is an old age, teaching aid, but what importance does it serve? It helps us it helps us in note taking. It can also be used to enumerate items or to list important points of the lesson. Draw flowcharts or illustrations for the class. It can be used to solve problems on the chalkboard, that is mathematical problems. It's an excellent supplement to other teaching aids. Even if you are using another teaching aid, you can use a chalkboard to supplement it. Neatness and orderly arrangement of a chalkboard material is eye-catching and contributes to the increase in memory. Then the value of worksheets. Worksheets are handouts the students complete to practice their skills. They give the students a chance to get further repetition without taking the teacher's full time attention. While all students complete their worksheets, the teacher can focus on the individual students who need the most help. Worksheets are also a common form of homework assignment. Students' performance on worksheets can also be used to gauge the students' progress on that particular subject. Stages of Thompson's lesson plan. The first stage is the presentation stage, where the teacher presents the new language. New language can be new vocabulary, new grammar, reading text, listening task, writing activity. In the presentation stage, the teacher does the work. Practice stage. Practice is where the students are made to practice the new language with the teacher. The teacher uses different sorts of exercises to make the students practice. At this stage, practice is controlled and the teacher emphasizes accuracy. In the practice stage, the teacher and the students do the work together. Production stage. Production is where the teacher makes the students produce the new language they have learned on their own. This is usually done with a speaking activity, for example, a game or a discussion or role play. At this stage, practice is not controlled by the teacher. Here the students do the work. Then teaching children how to speak with confidence. One strategy is to play word games with a child. That means if you play word games with them, you are helping them increase their vocabulary, and with vocabulary, enough vocabulary, it's easy for one to speak. Encourage the student to attend book talks or book discussion groups. Listen to your child and make him feel important about what he is speaking about. Read with the child and have her predict different outcomes to the story. Bring the child to various lectures about something he is interested in. Pre-story reading activities. Ask pupils if they know anything. Pre-story is before you start reading the story. Ask pupils if they know anything about the story. Show an object which is important in the story and ask what they know about it. Show a picture of an important character or scene and ask questions about it. Introduce important words in the story. That is the new vocabulary that you can find in the story. Post-story reading activities. After you've read the story, you can have these activities. Talk about similar. Ask your children to talk about similar experiences they've had, similar to those ones in the story. Draw and color a picture to present a character or scene from the story. Retell the story in their own words. Tell the story from a different viewpoint. And then fill in the blanks of a summary of the story that you have written on the board. They can also work in pairs to make up and perform a dialogue between two characters from the story. They can also dramatize the story in groups using pupils to be the main characters, or they can also write letters from one character to another or from themselves to one of the characters. Then teaching pronunciation. How do we teach pronunciation? We can use isolation to teach pronunciation. Isolation is not the punishment where you isolate a child, but you isolate a sound pattern. It may help your students to isolate that particular sound from any others. Instead of presenting a certain sound as part of a complete word in English, you can simply pronounce the sound itself repeatedly. When you do, your students can say it along with you repeatedly, focusing on the small nuances in the correct pronunciation and also ingraining the sound pattern into their minds. Another one is through minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are a great way to focus pronunciation on just one sound. A minimal pair is two words that vary in only one sound. For example, rat and rate are minimal pairs because only the vowel sound differs between the two words. You can use minimal pairs to help your students with their pronunciation by focusing on one particular sound. You can also teach pronunciation by using a mirror, giving your students a chance to view their own physical movements while they are working on their pronunciation can be of great value. They will also benefit from seeing what movements they are making as they speak. Sometimes becoming aware of the physical movements involved in pronunciation is all your students will need to correct pronunciation issues of which they are unaware of. Then assisting to produce good writing pieces during the process method for developing writing. Process method, help them to prepare themselves for writing. Let your pupils brainstorm ideas for their writing individually or in groups, and then ask them to share their ideas with the rest of the class. You can add ideas yourself if you think they've missed important points. You can also introduce some useful vocabulary or ask them to brainstorm it. Alternatively, you can discuss the subject orally, asking pupils for their ideas and opinions. That is, if you look at this, look at it in context where they are writing an essay, a composition about something. You need to brainstorm ideas relevant to the topic so that they can, have something to work with. Then be available to help them when they are writing. Let your pupils work by themselves, but be ready to help whenever they need your assistance. You don't write for them, they work, but you assist them based on what they have. Helping pupils to improve their work. Try not to discourage pupils in their writing. Don't correct every single mistake. Don't comment only on the grammar, but also on their ideas and the way they have organized them. Help them to choose the right words to express their ideas. Activities for guided reading, filling in the blanks. This should be guided writing. Filling in the blanks, written drills, jumbled sentences, matching half sentences, sentence writing, parallel writing. Correcting for fluency, allow the pupils to speak and delay correction until later. Note any mistakes as you listen to the pupils speaking, but do not interrupt them. When you do correct them, first ask the pupils to try and give you the correct answer. If you are unable to give the correct answer, do so yourself and give them some practice. If a mistake occurs in a grammar lesson, spend some time in your next lesson revising the point with all your pupils. The types of mistakes that you need to correct, you will be able to correct grammatical mistakes, vocabulary mistakes, pronunciation mistakes, and written mistakes. The concept assessment. Assessment, what do we mean by assessment? Assessment is the process of collecting, analyzing, and recording information about student progress towards achievement of syllabus outcomes. So we have the syllabus outcomes and the student's performance. So we measure one against the other. So this is basically the end of our presentation, and I wish you all good luck.